Mike McCaul of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Kerry, the countries that know Iran the best, this agreement the most. And the reasons why are that for the following reasons. It lacks the necessary verification, measures to ensure Iran does not cheat. It lists the restrictions on Iran's intercontinental ballistic missiles, which the Ayatollah himself said they will mass produce. The international sanctions on the Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, its terror arm, will be relieved, and the European sanctions. This deal could also, in my judgment, spark a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, as the Saudis told me when I recently visited there. And as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, what concerns me the most is this deal frees up hundreds of billions of dollars to the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. Susan Rice, the president's national security advisor, said, quote, "We should expect that some portion of that money will go to the Iranian military and could potentially be used for the kinds of bad behavior that we've seen in the region." And now you're asking this Congress to endorse an agreement that the president's own national security advisor admits will spread terror in the region. Finally, Iran's deputy foreign minister confirmed we will provide weapons to whomever and whenever we consider appropriate, and we will buy weapons from wherever we can. Chairman Royce and I sent a letter, sir, to you and the President of the United States asking you to first submit this deal for consideration by the American people through their representatives first before this deal was submitted to the United Nations. But instead, you went around the Congress and the American people, submitted this to the United Nations, and then China, Russia, and Venezuela got a chance to vote on this and approved this agreement before we've had a chance to deliberate. My question is this: if the Congress overrides the President's veto, what effect would that have on this deal? In other words, would it kill the deal?
Yes, we've said that many times. Come back to your earlier comment.
But just, this is a very important point. Will the UN and EU sanctions be lifted, and that will relieve Iran of these burdens? Or would, if we override the President's veto, would it collapse the entire international deal?
The sanctions rely on the international community's participation to be able to enforce them. Our sanctions alone did not do the job alone. It wasn't until we went out and worked with other countries diligently, China, for instance, in order to persuade them not to buy X amount of oil, countries in the Middle East to not be trading underneath the table or otherwise. There are a lot of different things necessary to make these sanctions work. If the United States unilaterally, through congressional decision, pulls away from this deal, they're not going to continue to apply those sanctions. They have no reason to. They're gone. They've already said they're gone. And with respect to Saudi Arabia, there was an AP article the other day when Ash Carter visited Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister said, Iran's nuclear deal appears to have the provisions needed to curtail Iran's ability to obtain a nuclear weapon.
Well, my time's limited. I've heard otherwise from Saudis, but let me just, that's very important for us.
That's a very public comment.
For us in the Congress to understand that if we override the President's veto, it will stop this entire agreement. I think that's important for us
but what I'm
as members of Congress. Now, I've got one more question. It's been debated by the Secretary Lew and yourself that you did not approve the delisting of the Quds Force commander, the Iranian terror arm, from the European sanctions list. That was, I'm looking at the agreement right here. They're taken off the list, of the European list, which is an agreement that was approved by you. The Quds Force, who was killed, they killed Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan. What do I do with Gold Star mothers back home whose children were killed by these Iranian forces and tell them that this agreement will take them off the list?
Tell them that the United States of America will continue to keep the sanctions on him specifically. He remains designated by our country, and we will not ever lift them, and that the United States will be pushing back on them. But look, here's what I'm...
My final question is this, this secret deal between the IAEA and Iran.
There's no secret.
We've never seen this. Are you going to present that to the Congress?
There's no secret deal. There is an agreement, which is the normal process of the IAEA, where they negotiate a confidential agreement, as they do with all countries, between them and the country. And that exists. We have briefed on it.
Are you going to present that to the Congress?
We don't have it. It is not.
Have you seen it?
We have been briefed on it. I have not personally seen it. But can I just say something? You know, we hear these complaints. We hear, well, this agreement doesn't do this, doesn't stop their terror. This agreement's going to give them some money. This agreement's going to do this. What this agreement is supposed to do is stop them from having a nuclear weapon. Now, I want to hear somebody tell me how they're going to do that
we're going to go
without
to
this agreement.
Mr.
I'd like to
Secretary.
know how you
We're going to go to Mr. William Keating of Massachusetts, the gentleman.